The morning sky above Seoul turned dark as massive ships appeared from nowhere. Admiral Tae-min stood on the bridge of Earth's biggest warship, watching the alien fleet block out the sun. These ships were huge beyond anything humans had ever built. Each one was the size of a small city floating in space above their world. Tae-min had spent 30 years in space preparing for this day. He knew it would come eventually. The radio signals from deep space had been getting stronger for decades. Someone out there was coming, and they did not sound friendly. Now they were here, and Earth had very little time to respond. The alien commander appeared on every screen across the planet. The creature was tall with silver skin that seemed to glow in the light. Its eyes were bright blue and looked like they held no emotion at all. When it spoke, its voice sounded like a machine trying to copy human speech. "We are the hegemony," the creature said. "We have come to claim your world for our empire. You have exactly 72 hours to surrender all your governments to us. Your people will be moved to work areas where they will serve our needs. Your planet will become a source of materials for our growing empire." Captain Sora watched the broadcast from Earth's main orbital station. She had been stationed there for 5 years watching space for exactly this kind of threat. The alien continued speaking in its cold, mechanical voice. It explained how humans would be sorted by their usefulness. The smart ones would work in factories. The strong ones would do heavy labor. The rest would be disposed of as unnecessary. Sora felt her hands shake with anger as the creature described humans like they were just animals to be used. The alien explained that resistance would result in the complete destruction of all human cities. It had conquered 47 other worlds using the same methods. Not one planet had successfully fought back against their superior technology. Down on Earth, President Jin-ae gathered with world leaders in the emergency bunker beneath the United Nations building. The room was filled with the most powerful people on the planet, but they all looked helpless as they watched the alien broadcast. General Dong-hyun presented their military options, and none of them looked good. Earth had 12 orbital defense platforms armed with missile systems. They had 50 warships scattered around the solar system. The aliens had over 300 massive vessels that could probably destroy everything humans had built in space within hours. The technology gap was enormous, and everyone in the room knew it. But Dr. Hyun-woo sat quietly in the corner with a small smile on his face. He was the head of Project Prometheus, which had been running in secret for 20 years. While everyone else looked terrified, he seemed almost excited about what was happening above their heads. The alien commander finished its broadcast by showing images of other conquered worlds, beautiful cities reduced to mining operations. Proud species turned into workers wearing simple gray uniforms. Entire civilizations wiped out because they had tried to fight back against the hegemony. "Your technology is primitive," the creature said. "Your weapons are outdated. Your defenses are weak. Surrender now, and some of you may survive to serve our empire. Fight, and all of you will die." The transmission ended, and the room fell into silence. Everyone looked at each other, wondering what they could possibly do against such overwhelming power. Earth had never faced anything like this before. Humans had barely managed to build a few space stations and some basic warships. How could they fight creatures that traveled between stars like it was nothing? Director Yoon Seo from the Deep Space Research Division finally spoke up. She had been quiet during the entire broadcast, but now she stood up and walked to the center of the room. She looked at each world leader with confidence that surprised everyone. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said, "it is time to show these aliens why they made a terrible mistake coming here. They think we are primitive because we have not achieved faster than light travel. They believe our weapons are outdated because they look simple compared to their energy systems. They assume we are weak because we have not conquered other worlds." Yoon Seo pressed a button on her device, and holographic images appeared in the air showing secret facilities hidden all across Earth. Underground bases built beneath major cities. weapon systems disguised as civilian structures, ships hidden in asteroid fields that the aliens had not detected. What the aliens do not know, she continued, is that humans have been preparing for this day since we first detected their signals. 20 years ago, we knew someone would come eventually, and we knew they would be more advanced than us. So we decided to focus on what humans do best. The holographic display showed massive factories hidden beneath the ocean floor, weapon systems built into the moon itself, ships that looked like space junk but carried enough firepower to destroy small moons, nuclear weapons redesigned to work in space, kinetic bombardment systems that could drop tungsten rods from orbit with the force of meteor impacts. While these aliens perfected clean energy weapons and faster-than-light travel, Yun Seo explained, we focused on raw, destructive power. They fight wars like a chess game trying to be efficient and elegant. We fight wars like a hurricane trying to destroy everything in our path. Admiral Tae-min received a coded message on his personal communicator. The message was simple, but it made him smile for the first time since the aliens arrived. All systems green, it read. Humanity's gift is ready for delivery. The alien fleet continued to hover above Earth in perfect formation. Their ships were beautiful works of art and engineering, smooth curves and glowing energy fields that made them look more like sculptures than weapons of war. The aliens inside these ships were confident that this conquest would be as easy as all the others. They had studied Earth for months before arriving. Human technology appeared to be hundreds of years behind their own. Earth had no energy shields, no plasma weapons, no faster-than-light engines. Their largest warship was smaller than a hegemony supply vessel. This would be a quick and simple victory. But the aliens had made one critical error in their analysis. They had judged human capabilities based on what they could see from space. They had no idea what was hidden beneath the surface of the planet they planned to conquer. They did not understand that humans had spent decades preparing for exactly this moment. The 72-hour countdown began ticking down on screens across the planet. The aliens expected mass panic and quick surrender like they had seen on other worlds. Instead, they got something they had never encountered before in their centuries of conquest. They got humanity at its most dangerous, when it was cornered and fighting for its home. As the first day of the countdown ended, Dr. Hyun-woo sent activation codes to secret facilities around the solar system. Captain Sora began moving defense platforms into attack positions. Admiral Tae-min ordered all hidden ships to prepare for combat. The aliens thought they were dealing with primitives. They were about to learn that primitives who split atoms and built nuclear weapons were the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy. Far across the galaxy, on the hegemony homeworld, the Galactic Council gathered in their massive crystal chambers to watch what they expected to be another easy victory. The chamber was built from pure energy crystals that glowed with soft blue light. Representatives from dozens of conquered species sat in floating chairs arranged in perfect circles around the central viewing platform. Council. Leader Zephyr Prime stood at the center of the chamber, studying the tactical displays that showed Earth and its pathetic defenses. The human planet looked so small and helpless compared to the mighty hegemony fleet positioned above it. Zephyr Prime had overseen the conquest of 23 worlds, and this one looked like it would be the easiest yet. "Look at this primitive civilization," Zephyr Prime announced to the assembled council members. Their orbital defenses consist of 12 small platforms armed with chemical rockets. Their space fleet has fewer than 50 vessels, and most of those are barely larger than our shuttlecraft. This conquest will take less than 6 standard time units. The council members nodded in agreement as they studied the displays. Ambassador Vex Kayla from the conquered Arcturus system remembered when her people had tried to resist the hegemony. They had possessed energy shields and plasma weapons, but still fell within days. These humans had nothing even close to that level of technology. Their energy signatures are laughably weak, continued Zephyr Prime as he manipulated the holographic display to show Earth's power grid. They still burn fossil fuels for energy in many areas. Their fusion reactors are primitive and inefficient. They have not even mastered antimatter containment. How can such backwards creatures hope to resist our advanced civilization? Council member Tor Nexus from the former Centauri Republic spoke up from his floating chair. My lords, perhaps we should study them more carefully before assuming this will be simple. Sometimes primitive species can be unpredictable in their desperation. Zephyr Prime laughed at the suggestion. Desperation cannot overcome such a massive technology gap, he replied. We have plasma cannons that can destroy their largest ships in seconds. Our shields can deflect any weapon they possess. Our faster-than-light engines allow us to strike from any direction while they are trapped in normal space. The tactical display showed the human military bases scattered across their planet. Small facilities with concrete buildings and metal fences. Nothing that looked like it could threaten starships in orbit. The humans had not even bothered to hide their installations properly. Everything was visible to the hegemony's advanced scanning systems. Meanwhile on Earth, President Jin A sat in the command center deep beneath Seoul, watching the same displays the aliens were studying. But she saw something completely different from what the Galactic Council was seeing. She saw decoy installations and fake energy signatures. She saw the results of 20 years of careful deception. General Dong Hyun stood beside her, pointing at various locations on the tactical map. The aliens are focusing on our obvious military bases, he said, just as we hoped they would. They have no idea that every major city has hidden installations beneath it. They cannot detect our real weapons because they are not scanning for the right energy types. Director Yoon Seo joined them in the command center carrying data tablets with the latest intelligence reports. Our deep space monitoring stations have been tracking their movements for the past 6 months, she reported. They follow the same pattern for every conquest. Overwhelming show of force, followed by demands for surrender, followed by orbital bombardment of obvious targets. The aliens had conquered so many worlds using the same methods that they had become predictable. They expected every species to fight, using energy weapons and particle shields. They had no experience dealing with opponents who used kinetic weapons and nuclear explosives. Their tactics were perfect for fighting other advanced civilizations, but useless against humans who fought like barbarians with modern technology. Dr. Hyun Woo entered the command center with a team of scientists carrying sealed data cases. The final weapon systems are now online, he announced with satisfaction. Project Prometheus has exceeded all expectations. The aliens are about to discover why humans are the only species that learn to split atoms before learning to leave their home planet. On the Hegemony flagship, Commander Velteran studied the human defense positions with growing confidence. The primitive creatures had positioned their pathetic warships in standard defensive formations around their planet. They were following military tactics that the Hegemony had seen dozens of times before. This would be a textbook conquest with minimal losses. The human vessels appeared to be using chemical rockets for propulsion and kinetic weapons for armament, technology that was obsolete by galactic standards for over 1,000 years. Their largest warship had armor plating made from simple metal alloys. Their weapons fired solid projectiles instead of energy beams. It was almost amusing how backwards they were. Back in the Galactic Council chamber, Zephyr Prime activated the communication system to address the Hegemony fleet. You may begin the final phase, he announced. Standard orbital bombardment of military targets, followed by ground invasion. Expected resistance time is less than 2 time units. The council members settled back in their floating chairs to watch another successful conquest. Some of them remembered when their own worlds had fallen to the Hegemony. They had all tried different strategies, but none had worked against such superior technology and firepower. The humans would learn the same lesson that everyone else had learned. Ambassador Kex Vora from the destroyed Polaris Federation watched the displays with sadness. Her people had been advanced enough to build generation ships and travel between stars. They had possessed quantum computers and molecular assemblers. But when the hegemony came, they had still been conquered in less than a week. These primitive humans had no chance at all. What the Galactic Council did not know was that humans had been listening to their communications for years. Every transmission between Council worlds had been intercepted and decoded by Earth's hidden intelligence network. Humans knew exactly how the hegemony conquered other planets because they had studied every previous invasion. Captain Sora received the activation signal at her orbital command post and smiled grimly. The aliens were about to begin their attack using the same predictable pattern they always used. First, they would target the obvious military installations. Then they would demand surrender. Finally, they would begin bombardment of civilian areas to force compliance. But humans had prepared for exactly this sequence of events. Every obvious target was actually a decoy filled with fake equipment and holographic projectors. The real weapons were hidden in places the aliens would never think to look: asteroid mining stations, deep ocean facilities, underground bases beneath, civilian hospitals and schools. The hegemony fleet began moving into attack formation above Earth exactly as human strategists had predicted they would. The alien ships arranged themselves in geometric patterns that looked beautiful, but followed mathematical rules that made them predictable. Human computers had been calculating firing solutions for these exact positions for months. Admiral Taemin watched from his hidden command ship as the alien fleet prepared to demonstrate their overwhelming superiority. The aliens had made their biggest mistake by assuming that primitive meant helpless. They were about to learn that humans who had survived ice ages and world wars were not easily conquered. The countdown timer reached 18 hours remaining. The Galactic Council expected to be celebrating victory within the next day. Instead, they were about to witness something that would change galactic politics forever. They were about to see what happened when the galaxy's perfect predators finally met their natural enemy. Down in the Antarctic facility, Dr. Boram entered the final. Activation codes for Project Deep Strike. Hidden weapon systems across Earth received their targeting data and began charging their power systems. The moon itself prepared to reveal the secret that humans had been hiding for 2 decades. The aliens thought they were dealing with primitives, who had barely learned to leave their own planet. They had no idea they were facing a species that had turned their entire solar system into the galaxy's most dangerous trap. Captain Minho activated the stealth systems on his fighter as he glided silently through the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. His ship looked like nothing more than a piece of space junk drifting among the rocks but hidden inside its crude metal hull were weapons that could crack planets in half. All around him, dozens of other ships emerged from hiding places they had occupied for years. The human fleet had been waiting in the asteroid belt for over 2 decades preparing for this exact moment. Every ship was built to look primitive and worthless from the outside. Their hulls were made from simple steel and aluminum. Their engines burned chemical fuel instead of exotic matter. Their weapons fired solid metal instead of energy beams. To alien scanners, they looked like construction equipment, not warships. But appearances could be deadly. Engineer So Young checked the targeting systems on her massive kinetic bombardment platform, hidden inside what looked like an asteroid mining station. The platform could launch tungsten rods at incredible speeds, turning simple metal into weapons that hit with the force of nuclear explosions. The aliens' energy shields that could deflect any plasma beam would be useless against solid matter traveling at such velocity. Minho received the activation signal and began moving his fighter wing toward Earth. Behind him followed the secret human fleet that had been built using resources officially dedicated to asteroid mining and deep space research. Every mining operation in the outer solar system had been a cover for military construction. Every scientific survey had been reconnaissance for the coming war. The alien fleet hung above Earth in perfect formation, completely unaware of the danger approaching from multiple directions. Their sensors were calibrated to detect energy signatures from advanced weapons systems. They had no reason to scan for primitive rocket engines and kinetic weapons. The humans were using the aliens' own technological superiority against them. Commander Wu Jin led the first wave of attack fighters from their hiding spot behind Earth's moon. His pilots had spent years training in secret using civilian spacecraft modified with military systems. They knew every piece of space debris in the solar system and could navigate through asteroid fields that would destroy alien ships not designed for such rough conditions. The human fighters moved like ghosts between the rocks and ice of the outer system. Their primitive appearance and low energy signatures made them nearly invisible to the sophisticated alien detection systems. The hegemony had spent centuries perfecting sensors designed to track advanced starships. They had no experience dealing with opponents who deliberately used outdated technology. Back on Earth, Director Yun Seo activated the hidden weapon systems that had been built into the moon itself over the past 15 years. What the aliens saw as Earth's natural satellite was actually the largest military installation in human history. The entire lunar surface was covered with mass drivers and kinetic weapon platforms disguised as mining equipment and research stations. Dr. Hyunwoo initiated the final sequence from his command center deep beneath the Antarctic ice. Around the world, similar facilities hidden under major cities began powering up weapon systems that had never been tested at full capacity. The aliens were about to face the concentrated fury of an entire species that had prepared for this battle since before their grandparents were born. The first human attack came without warning from 6 different directions simultaneously. Kinetic. Projectiles launched from lunar installations struck the alien fleet at speeds that turned simple metal into plasma upon impact. The beautiful hegemony ships with their elegant curves and energy field generators had never been designed to withstand solid objects traveling at such incredible velocity. So Young watched through her targeting scope as tungsten rods the size of telephone poles punched through alien hull plating like it was paper. The creatures inside those ships had probably never seen weapons so primitive, yet so devastatingly effective. Their energy shields flickered and failed as solid matter tore through systems designed to deflect particle beams and plasma bursts. Captain Minho led his fighter squadron in a devastating attack run against the alien command ship. The human fighters looked like antiques compared to the sleek alien vessels, but they moved with deadly precision through the battle zone. Every human pilot had grown up watching old war movies and studying historical battles. They fought like their ancestors who had learned warfare in the skies above burning cities. The alien fleet tried to respond, but their weapon systems were not designed for targets moving so unpredictably through debris fields. The humans used the wreckage of destroyed ships as cover weaving between floating metal and ice, while launching missiles and kinetic projectiles at close range. The aliens had mastered long-range energy combat, but had no experience with the brutal close-quarters fighting that humans preferred. Commander Wu Jin received reports from pilots across the battle zone. The alien ships were powerful, but they fought like machines following programmed responses. When their standard tactics failed, they seemed unable to adapt quickly enough to deal with human unpredictability. The creatures had conquered dozens of worlds, but they had never faced an enemy that fought with such chaotic effectiveness. Engineer So Young activated her platform's secondary weapon systems and began launching nuclear warheads modified for space combat. The crude atomic weapons looked primitive compared to alien technology, but they delivered devastating explosive force that could cripple even the largest hegemony vessel. The aliens had moved beyond nuclear weapons thousands of years ago and had forgotten how much destruction they could cause. The human attack continued from multiple directions as more hidden fleets emerged from concealment throughout the solar system. Ships disguised as cargo haulers revealed themselves to be missile platforms. Asteroid mining equipment transformed into kinetic bombardment systems. Scientific research stations activated weapon systems that had been hidden for decades. Dr. Boram coordinated the assault from her command post beneath the Pacific Ocean. Every major human city was connected to the battle through fiber optic networks that carried targeting data and tactical information at the speed of light. The entire planet had been turned into a single massive weapon system with millions of people working together to defend their home. The alien commander broadcast a message, demanding that the humans stop their attack and surrender immediately. The creature's voice sounded shocked and confused, as if it could not believe that primitive beings were causing such damage to the superior hegemony fleet. The message was answered by Admiral Taemin from his hidden command ship with words that would become famous across the galaxy. "You came to our home," he transmitted on all frequencies. "You threatened our children. You demanded our surrender. Now face the consequences of challenging a species that learned to split atoms before we learned to leave our planet." The battle raged across Earth's orbital space as human weapons that looked like antiques tore apart alien ships that represented centuries of advanced engineering. The hegemony forces found themselves facing an enemy that fought like natural disasters, using overwhelming force and acceptable losses to achieve victory. Their clean, efficient warfare was no match for human brutality backed by modern technology. Captain Sora coordinated the defense of Earth's orbital stations while simultaneously directing hidden weapon platforms to target alien vessels attempting to retreat. The humans had spent decades studying every piece of alien technology that fell to Earth, and they knew exactly where to hit for maximum damage. Every hegemony ship had weak points that human weapons could exploit. As the first phase of the battle ended with alien ships burning in Earth's orbit, the Galactic Council watched in growing horror. The primitive humans were not just fighting back, they were winning against impossible odds. The creatures that were supposed to be conquered in hours were systematically destroying the galaxy's most powerful fleet using weapons that should have been obsolete. The aliens had made a fatal error in their arrogance. They had underestimated what happens when you threaten a species that survived Ice Age's wars, famines, and plagues by becoming the most dangerous predators their planet had ever produced. The humans were about to teach the galaxy a lesson that would be remembered for generations. The Galactic Council chamber fell into stunned silence as the tactical displays showed hegemony ships being torn apart by primitive human weapons. Council leader Zephyr Prime stared at the holographic battlefield, unable to comprehend what was happening above the small blue planet. The humans were supposed to surrender within hours, not destroy the galaxy's most powerful fleet with weapons that looked like ancient relics. Ambassador Vex Kala from the conquered Arcturus system leaned forward in her floating chair watching human fighters dart between burning alien wreckage. Her people had possessed energy shields and plasma cannons when the hegemony invaded their world, but they had still fallen within days. These primitive humans, with their chemical rockets and metal projectiles, were achieving something no advanced civilization had ever managed. The displays showed human ships that looked like they had been built from scrap metal, moving with deadly precision through the battle zone. Their crude appearance was clearly intentional deception designed to make the hegemony underestimate their capabilities. Every human vessel fought with the desperation of cornered animals, but with the coordination of a highly advanced military force. Dr. Boram activated the final phase of Earth's planetary defense system from her command center deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. Around the planet, hidden installations that had been disguised as civilian structures began revealing their true nature. Hospital rooftops slid back to expose missile launch platforms. School playgrounds opened to reveal kinetic bombardment systems. Shopping malls transformed into military command centers. The aliens in orbit watched in growing terror as the entire planet below them became a weapon. Every major city had been secretly converted into a military fortress over the past 2 decades. The humans had hidden their preparations so well that even intensive scanning from orbit had failed to detect the true scope of their defenses. Captain Min Ho led his fighter squadron in another devastating attack run against the remaining alien vessels. The human fighters moved through the debris field like predators hunting wounded prey. Their pilots had grown up studying every war movie and military documentary ever made. They fought with the accumulated wisdom of centuries of human conflict. The Hegemony fleet tried to retreat to a safe distance, but found themselves pursued by human ships that seemed to care nothing for their own safety. Damaged human fighters rammed themselves into alien vessels rather than allow them to escape. Crippled human warships used their last power to fire nuclear weapons at point-blank range, taking alien ships down with them. Commander Wu Jin transmitted Admiral Taemin's message to the retreating alien fleet on all frequencies. His voice carried the cold determination of a species that had survived every natural disaster their planet could produce. "You wanted to see human technology," he said calmly. "This is what we do to visitors who do not knock first." The alien commander aboard the Hegemony flagship broadcast an emergency message to the Galactic Council. "These creatures fight like demons," he reported with panic clear in his mechanical voice. "They show no regard for acceptable casualties. They use weapons that should not be effective against our shields. They turn their entire planet into a military installation." Council member Tor Nexus from the former Centauri Republic watched the battle displays with growing understanding. He had wondered why his own technologically advanced people had fallen so quickly to the Hegemony while these primitive humans were winning. Now he realized the difference. Advanced civilizations fought to minimize losses, while humans fought to win, regardless of cost. Engineer So Young coordinated with weapon platforms across the lunar surface as they continued bombarding the alien fleet with kinetic projectiles. The moon itself had been transformed into the largest military base in human history, over 15 years of secret construction. What looked like mining equipment and research stations were actually mass drivers capable of launching projectiles across interplanetary distances. The human attack continued relentlessly as more hidden fleets emerged from concealment throughout the solar system. Ships that had been disguised as asteroid miners revealed weapons systems powerful enough to threaten capital ships. Deep space research probes activated combat protocols and began hunting alien vessels attempting to escape the battle zone. Dr. Hyunwoo monitored the global coordination network that connected every human military installation on and around Earth. The planet had become a single integrated weapons system, with millions of people working together to defend their home. Children in school basements operated communication systems, while elderly volunteers loaded ammunition for weapons they had helped build in secret. The Galactic Council watched in horror as reports came in from across the battle zone. Human weapons that looked centuries out of date were systematically destroying technology that represented the pinnacle of galactic engineering. The creatures were using simple kinetic force and nuclear explosions to overcome energy shields and particle barriers that had protected the Hegemony for generations. Admiral Taemin appeared on all communication channels as his hidden command ship emerged from its concealment behind a large asteroid. His face showed the grim satisfaction of someone who had spent decades preparing for this exact moment. The entire human species had known this day would come eventually, and they had used every available resource to make sure they would be ready. "You came to our system," he transmitted to both the alien fleet and the watching Galactic Council, expecting to find helpless primitives. "You thought our technology was weak because it looks different from yours. You assumed we would surrender because other species have done so. You were wrong about everything." Captain Sora coordinated ground-based defenses as alien ships that had broken through the orbital battle tried to attack human cities. But the cities themselves were ready with hidden weapon systems and civilian populations that had been training for guerrilla warfare for 20 years. Every human settlement had been converted into a fortress without the aliens detecting the preparations. The surviving Hegemony vessels found themselves trapped in a solar system that had become a death trap. Every asteroid could hide human weapons. Every piece of space debris might be a disguised bomb. The humans had turned their entire star system into an elaborate ambush that was now closing around the invading fleet like the jaws of some massive predator. Colonel Hae-won led ground forces defending Seoul as alien dropships attempted to land in the city center. But the humans were ready with tactics that no civilized species would consider using. Chemical weapons that had been banned by galactic treaties, biological agents designed to target alien physiology, explosives hidden in civilian buildings that could level entire city blocks. The humans fought like their planet was the only place in the universe they could ever call home, because for them, it was exactly that. They had no other worlds to retreat, to no backup colonies to preserve their species. This was their final stand, and they fought with the desperate courage of a species that knew extinction was the only alternative to victory. The Galactic Council realized too late that they were witnessing something unprecedented in galactic history. A primitive species was defeating advanced conquerors not through superior technology, but through superior determination. The humans had turned their apparent weakness into their greatest strength by using it to hide preparations that took decades to complete. As more hegemony ships fell to human weapons, the remaining alien forces began broadcasting surrender requests, but the humans were not interested in accepting surrender. They had studied the hegemony's history and knew that defeated enemies were simply enslaved for future invasions. The only way to ensure Earth remained free was to eliminate the threat permanently. The battle that was supposed to last hours had turned into a systematic destruction of the galaxy's most powerful fleet by creatures that had barely learned to leave their own planet. The primitive humans were teaching the galaxy a lesson that advanced civilizations had forgotten in their pursuit of clean, efficient warfare. Sometimes the most dangerous enemy is not the one with the best technology, but the one with nothing left to lose. Commander Say-Ram emerged from the outer darkness beyond Pluto, leading a fleet that defied everything the galaxy thought they knew about human capabilities. Her ships had been built in the cold depths of space using ice asteroids and metal from the outer planets. To alien eyes, they looked like floating garbage heaps held together with steel cables and desperation. In reality, they were mobile weapons platforms that carried enough firepower to level continents. The alien commanders watched in growing disbelief as this new human fleet approached the battle zone. The ships moved in loose formations that seemed chaotic compared to the precise geometric patterns favored by advanced civilizations. But there was deadly purpose in their apparent randomness. Every vessel was positioned to provide maximum firepower while using the wreckage of destroyed alien ships as cover. Admiral Tae-min coordinated the arrival of reinforcements from his hidden command vessel. For 20 years, humanity had been building ships in secret throughout the solar system. Every asteroid mining operation had been cover for military construction. Every deep space research mission had been gathering intelligence about alien technology and tactics. The humans had turned their entire star system into a weapons factory. Captain Jae-sung transmitted from the bridge of his battle-scarred cruiser as it limped through the debris field, still firing at retreating alien vessels. His ship looked like it was held together with spare parts and determination, but it had already destroyed 3 hegemony warships. The crude, human-design philosophy of using whatever worked was proving devastatingly effective against alien engineering perfection. Your mistake was thinking primitive meant helpless Jae-sung broadcast to the fleeing aliens. We learned to split atoms before we learned to leave our planet. We spent centuries perfecting the art of total war while you were conquering defenseless civilizations. Now you face what humans do when someone threatens our home. The Galactic Council watched the tactical displays with growing terror as the scope of human preparation became clear. Every piece of space debris in their solar system had been cataloged and could potentially hide weapons. Every civilian installation could transform into a military target. The humans had spent decades turning their entire star system into an elaborate trap. Dr. Hyun-woo activated additional weapon systems that had been hidden throughout the asteroid belt and outer planets. Mining platforms revealed themselves as kinetic bombardment systems. Research stations exposed missile launch platforms Even the garbage dumps floating in space began launching attack drones that swarmed toward damaged alien vessels like mechanical vultures. The surviving hegemony ships found themselves facing an enemy that fought with tactics no civilized species would consider using. Human commanders ordered damaged vessels to ram alien ships rather than allow them to retreat. Crippled fighters detonated nuclear warheads in suicide attacks that took multiple enemy vessels down with them. Wounded pilots continued fighting until their ships literally fell apart around them. Engineer So Young coordinated the systematic destruction of alien escape routes from her lunar command center. The humans had studied hegemony tactics for decades and knew exactly how they would try to retreat from a losing battle. Every jump point out of the solar system was covered by hidden weapon platforms. Every route the aliens might take was blocked by human forces that had been waiting in ambush for years. Captain Minho led his fighter squadron through the wreckage of what had once been the galaxy's most powerful fleet. The human fighters moved like scavengers through the debris field, hunting down individual alien vessels that were trying to hide among the ruins of their own ships. The humans showed no mercy to enemies who had come to enslave their entire species. The alien commander transmitted a desperate message to the Galactic Council requesting immediate reinforcement. "These creatures cannot be reasoned with," he reported, in panic. "They fight like natural disasters. They show no concern for acceptable losses. They have turned their entire solar system into a weapon designed specifically to destroy our forces." But the Galactic Council was paralyzed by what they were witnessing. The hegemony represented their ultimate military force, the final solution to any resistance against galactic order. If primitive humans could destroy this fleet, then everything they believed about technological superiority and galactic dominance was wrong. Commander Wu Jin received reports from human forces throughout the solar system as the battle entered its final phase. The aliens who had survived the initial assault were scattered and demoralized. Their beautiful ships were reduced to burning wreckage drifting through space. Their precise military formations had collapsed into chaos as individual vessels tried desperately to escape. Dr. Boram initiated the pursuit protocols from her command center beneath the Pacific Ocean. The humans had no intention of allowing any alien vessel to escape and report back to the galaxy about Earth defenses. Every surviving enemy ship would be hunted down and destroyed to maintain the secrecy that had made their victory possible. The human fleet that emerged from hiding throughout the solar system represented decades of careful planning and resource management. While appearing to focus on peaceful space exploration and asteroid mining, humans had actually been building the largest military force in their history. Every civilian space program had included hidden military components. Captain Sora coordinated the final assault. The surviving hegemony ships flee Earth's solar system in complete disarray, carrying news that will reshape galactic politics forever. The Galactic Council convenes in emergency session as reports flood in about the human problem. These supposedly primitive beings have not only defeated the hegemony, but captured several of their ships and begun reverse engineering alien technology at an alarming rate. President Jiwoo addresses the galaxy from Earth's newly constructed orbital command center built from the wreckage of alien vessels. Her message is simple and terrifying. Earth is now accepting diplomatic missions from civilized species. Those who come in peace will be welcomed. Those who come as conquerors will learn why humans are the only species that makes weapons out of splitting atoms. The galaxy must now adjust to a new reality where humanity has claimed its place not through technological sophistication, but through sheer bloody-minded refusal to be conquered. Ambassador Young-sik takes Earth's seat on the Galactic Council, representing a species that fought their way to the negotiating table using tactics so brutal that even the galaxy's veteran warriors speak of human warfare in whispered tones. As news spreads of humanity's victory, oppressed species across the galaxy begin asking questions about human military advisors. The hegemony's former victims want to learn the human art of warfare, turning the galaxy's newest members into teachers of revolution. The Council realizes too late that humanity's greatest weapon isn't their technology or their tactics, but their absolute refusal to accept defeat. The story ends with children across the galaxy learning a new lesson: never underestimate a species that learn to split atoms before they learn to leave their planet. The humans have earned their place among the stars not through exploration or diplomacy, but by proving that some fights are worth having, no matter the odds. Earth stands as a beacon of defiance in a galaxy that had forgotten what real warriors look like.